Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly. I'm one of the co-owners of Northwest Martial Arts, and I am here today with my wife Jenna, who's also a co-owner of Northwest Martial Arts. And we are going to show you a little bit of basic jiu-jitsu positioning and strategy. So, jiu-jitsu is mostly on the ground, and when you go to the ground, one person or the other is going to end up on top, one person's going to end up on bottom. So let's say that I end up on top and Jenna ends up on bottom. Any way that the legs are in between you and your opponent is called guard position. So sometimes people lock their ankles around the person this way here, this would be guard. Sometimes the feet are on the hips or maybe on the biceps or something else. This is all guard. These are just different types of guard. And guard is a strong position for Jenna. It's the strongest position that she could be in when she's on bottom because the legs are strong. So my job on top is going to be to try to get around the legs, either go over, under, or around the legs. That's doing what we call passing the guard, basically defeating the bottom person's guard. So if I move the legs out of the way here and end up being in a position like this is what we call side control or side mount. And side mount position is a strong position in jiu-jitsu because the person now can't use their legs against me. If they're trying to push me away or shove me away, the legs aren't going to be helpful to them. Another position that we might go to past the guard is called knee mount position. And knee mount position here is a dominant position once again because they can't use their legs against me and I can attack. A very strong position in jiu-jitsu is what we call full mount position here. And mount position is very dominant because they can't use their legs, and I could even pin down and control their arms or be able to attack if it was self-defense with chokes or strikes or other things. If the person turns over and exposes their back, this is what we call back mount position. Mount and back mount are considered to be the strongest positions in jiu-jitsu and certainly the strongest positions for self-defense. Even if the person ended up turning over, if I could stay behind them, I would have still back mount position. Here, this is what they call the seat belt, one over and one under, and I would have control of my opponent this way here. Now, back mount's very strong because it's a position that's easy to choke or to attack from there. So those are the basic positions and strategies of jiu-jitsu, trying to pass the guard, trying to get to a side control or side mount. From there, maybe up to the knee mount or across to the full mount if my opponent exposes their back, going behind them to the back mount position. Couple things to keep in mind about safety is in jiu-jitsu, we need to make sure that we're never pulling on each other's fingers or toes. Obviously, that could hurt the person. We need to make sure that we're not pushing on the face or that we don't get near the eyes of the person. And also in jiu-jitsu, everybody who trains jiu-jitsu needs to be aware of the tap out, where you can tap your training partner and tell them to stop when anything is happening, whether or not the person's applying a submission hold. Obviously, if the person's applying a choke hold or a joint lock or something like that, you're going to want to tap out before it becomes too painful or before it causes an injury. And that's also why it's really important for the person who's applying those locks to do it very slowly and very controlled so the person has plenty of time to signal a tap out. We usually tap out with our hand. We just tap our opponent and let them know. But also, if you can't tap with your hands, maybe your hands are tied up or something, you could also tap with your foot, and you can tap with your voice. You can just say tap, 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 or stop, stop, stop. And it's very important anytime anybody taps in jiu-jitsu that we just stop right away, whatever we're doing. Another thing to keep in mind when you're doing jiu-jitsu with people is trying to make sure that you're not putting too much weight and pressure on people, especially if they're new to jiu-jitsu and not used to it. We want to make sure that we're being safe. So for example, if I was holding knee mount position here, this position could get really uncomfortable for the person on bottom with all of the weight of my knee pushing into their ribs and things like that. So I'm cautious when I'm training these things to make sure that there's not a lot of weight and pressure on my training partner. As a matter of fact, they could just slide out from underneath me here because my weight is actually on my own feet here. I'm not resting my weight on the person, and that's important to keep in mind. So those are some basic principles and basic ideas of training jiu-jitsu and training jiu-jitsu safely. So hopefully you can put some of those things into practice and enjoy your jiu-jitsu training.